The end of the 2024 Formula 1 season can't come soon enough for Lewis Hamilton. How do we know? Because I asked him after the Brazilian Grand Prix if, with the way the car is performing, he can't wait for the end of the campaign, and those were the exact words he used. During the middle phase of 2024, it seemed Hamilton's farewell to Mercedes after 12 seasons ahead of a late career move to Ferrari might be a good one as the Silver Arrows return to winning ways. Although there was no chance of an 8th World Championship, regular victory seemed possible in the second half of the year. Hamilton ended his 2.5-year win drought with an emotional triumph in the British Grand Prix at Silverstone in July, followed 3 weeks later by inheriting victory in Belgium after teammate George Russell was excluded for being underweight. This was during a run of 3 wins in 4 events for Mercedes, kick-started by Russell's victory in Austria. And although some of those results were assisted by good fortune, it did seem Mercedes had finally cracked the code of F1's ground effect cars that previously eluded it. Form has taken a downturn since, and Hamilton has cut an increasingly dejected figure. Unusually for him, qualifying has been a struggle all season, and in the 7 Grand Prix since the summer break, he started 14th or lower 4 times, with his best finish a 4th in Mexico. Hamilton describes this run as devastating. The recent triple header has been particularly arduous. After being knocked out in Q1 at the Circuit of the Americas, he spun out of the race at turn 19 on the second lap of the Grand Prix. That was the same corner that caught out Russell in qualifying, although Russell hit the wall hard rather than simply getting stuck in the gravel like Hamilton did. It has to go down as a race-ending mistake for Hamilton, although team principal Toto Wolff was at pains to exonerate his driver, saying it was 100% not his fault. Mexico was actually the high water mark of the run since the summer break for Hamilton. There he finished 4th, but as he warned going into the Interlagos weekend, the performance of the car swings back and forth. There it very much swung against Hamilton. He finished 11th in the sprint and 10th in the Grand Prix. After the race, he was understandably more interested in talking about his emotional demo run in a 1990 McLaren MP4 5B as a tribute to Ayrton Senna. And when he did talk about his current car, he described it as just bad. You can't blame Hamilton for being despondent and eagerly awaiting the end of the year. After all, it would only be human to be looking ahead to his next challenge, given there's nothing left to fight for at Mercedes. And even though Mercedes team boss Toto Wolff caused a stir with comments in a recently published book, admitting that even before Hamilton decided to leave for Ferrari, they were wary of his shelf life and the possibility he might need to be awkwardly eased out at some point soon, Mercedes also doesn't think Hamilton has suddenly gone off the boil in 2024. But it still remains the case that Hamilton has performed less impressively over the past 3 seasons against George Russell, particularly over a single lap in qualifying, than when he was winning regular world championships in the pre-ground effect era. And with Russell able to run at the front in Brazil, finishing 4th after leading the first stint, it's clear that Hamilton's having a much tougher time extracting performance from the same car as his current Mercedes teammate. The Mercedes W15 is a difficult car. When it's good, it's genuinely fast, and at times one or both of the Mercedes drivers is delighted with its performance. Take Hamilton on Friday at Austin. Although a yellow flag and a slight loss of control under braking ruined his sprint qualifying lap, he felt the upgrade package, including modifications to the floor, was working well. Subsequently, he was less positive about the upgrade. And this sums up the problems Mercedes is facing, an inconsistent, erratic car that 1 minute gives the drivers confidence and the next spits them off the road. The upgrades introduced in the second half of the year, including a flaw that ran in practice at Spa, then was taken off after Friday before returning with inconclusive results thereafter, typified that. The team believes it did represent a small gain, but with the fluctuating performance it is difficult to be certain of anything. Mercedes has never fully got to the bottom of why its car is so sensitive and capricious. It's not just Hamilton who is experiencing these problems. In Brazil, George Russell described the performance of the Mercedes W15 as the most inconsistent the team has had, which is saying a lot given how much it has struggled since the introduction of the ground effect regulations in 2022. The Mercedes is, to invoke and modify a phrase often used by Wolff in the past, a lot of a diva. Remember, he first used the phrase a bit of a diva to describe the Mercedes W08 of 2017. Hamilton has worked to extract more from the 2024 car, often making setup changes in search of improvements. As trackside engineering director Andrew Shovlin stresses, the drivers are free to evolve their own setups. There have perhaps been times when Hamilton has searched too hard and gone the wrong way, especially as even small changes can knock the car in and out of the window or promote problems like the bouncing he complained of at Interlagos. However, in Brazil, the lack of rear grip he's battled, which was also a problem in Mexico, was, according to Shovlin, not caused by anything obvious in the setup. Add to that the challenge of the tyres, with Hamilton often pushing them too hard in qualifying and struggling for grip as a result. The Pirellis need to be managed over a single lap, and that increases the chances of handling struggles. Hamilton also hinted at a difference in the quality of the equipment at Mercedes, echoing sentiments he expressed earlier in the season that fanned the flames of the various baseless conspiracy theories doing the rounds. He described one of the cars as working better than the other. When he's made such comments, it's usually been in reference to performance disappearing in qualifying, but so far there's nothing tangible to go on to explain any offset between the cars, and it would be bizarre behaviour for Mercedes not to do everything it can to get the best out of both drivers. The bottom line is that the Mercedes is a very tricky car to get the most out of, even when it does have the potential to be quick. And after 3 seasons wasted grappling with these problems, it's no surprise that Hamilton is frustrated and looking ahead to new challenges by way of motivation. It would be unfair to assume Hamilton has checked out towards the end of his Mercedes season because his Ferrari move is around the corner. Were the Mercedes a stronger car right now, doubtless he would be like the Hamilton of old once he gets the sniff of fighting for another win. As he admits, there's little to play for in 2024 given Mercedes is in a lonely 4th in the Constructors' Championship. Unlike Russell, he won't be there to benefit from any progress made now that it feeds into 2025, and he admits the fight to finish ahead of his teammate in the championship standings holds no meaning for him, even though only 2 points separate the duo. To co-opt American election terminology, Hamilton is now a lame duck driver. He's elected to move elsewhere and is just playing out time at Mercedes without anything to fight for. Privately, he must be delighted to see the progress his new team for 2025 is making. While he's far too professional to admit that, and he's keen to try and finish well with Mercedes, he's understandably keeping a close eye on Ferrari's gains. Hamilton's demeanour is one of a man who is just counting time before the next challenge. That perhaps proves he made the right decision to make the move away from Mercedes next year. No matter how low he is at the end of 2024, the fresh environment at Ferrari, the fight he faces with new teammate Charles Leclerc, and fulfilling the long-held dream of racing for the Scuderia will surely reinvigorate him. At the very least, the summer question marks about whether Hamilton might fear he's made the wrong decision by signing for Ferrari, questions we at the race tackled at times, has been shot down emphatically. So what chance is there of a final flourish to Hamilton's Mercedes career? Given the erratic form of the car, it's possible that one or more of Las Vegas, Qatar or Abu Dhabi could offer a shot at being in the mix. And as we've seen in fits and starts this season, Hamilton can still produce the magic that has taken him to 7 World Championships. But even if Hamilton can get better in sync with the car and it's working well, Mercedes is in a difficult situation in terms of parts. That means both drivers could be working with either tired or repaired bodywork, and possibly even with mix and match specifications. Crashes for Kimi Antonelli in FP1 at Monza, and then George Russell in qualifying in Austin and during FP2 in Mexico have led to what Wolff calls a tremendous cost cap hit. George Russell's FP2 shunt in Mexico was particularly problematic as it resulted in a chassis change and the introduction of a brand new monocoque. Although that chassis obviously already existed and money had been spent on it, Mercedes could have avoided including it in its cost cap accounting for 2024 had it not been used, creating a saving of hundreds of thousands of dollars that could have been allocated elsewhere when it comes to the complex financial regulations paperwork. This could make life difficult for Mercedes in the final triple header, especially if there are more crashes. But at least in Brazil the specifications of the 2 Mercedes cars were the same, and the floor Russell damaged in Austin was back in use after repairs. Hamilton himself is just hoping for a car that works roughly as it should do, gives him confidence, and doesn't fall in and out of a good operating window. He may have one eye on his Ferrari future, but after 12 years at Mercedes, he'll want a good send-off. Unfortunately for both driver and team, with little time to make changes to the car, it may be that the short mid-season peak was as good as Hamilton's Mercedes farewell will get.